name's Anne Gallagher. I'm a Professor of Ethics and Care at the University of Surrey. And I don't know what else, I'm a nurse. I've got a background in adult nursing and mental health. And I will come clean immediately. My only real exposure to working with people with learning disabilities, hi Anna Marie, was in 1986. I worked on a summer camp in the United States, and I worked with people with learning disabilities, which was a great learning experience, I must say. The reason I'm here today is we've been lucky enough to be working with Health Education England on a research project. George is working with us on that as well. So what they wanted to find out, which is what this handout is about. Hello, very welcome.
Sorry.
There you go. Very welcome. Thank you. Okay, I'll backtrack just a little bit. Anne Gallagher. I'm working with Health Education England on a project relating to advanced care planning, end of life care for young people with learning disabilities. Let's get the language right first. What's your preference, learning disabilities or intellectual disabilities? Learning disabilities, that's okay. That's great, thank you. So what we've been commissioned to do is a very short-term project, 6-month project. So I'm working with a researcher called Matthew Peacock and working very closely with George and Rona at Health Education England, and of course, crucially with people like you, with people who work in the field. We rely on your expertise to do this project well. So what we've been commissioned to do is to develop two things: an open learning pack, a toolkit relating to advanced care planning for young people with learning disabilities. I suppose you might say life-limiting conditions. So it's people who are coming towards the end of life. And I mean, that we could have some discussion about that. What counts as end-of-life care? When does it begin? And so on. So we'll come back to that. So what I would like to do in this workshop is really get your views on a number of very important questions. I thought it'd be helpful, so there's a little bit on the front page about the background to the project, what we're aiming to do. So we have an open learning pack, a toolkit, and the second thing we're going to do is we're going to run 10 workshops for people who work with young people with learning disabilities. And we'll run them across Kent, Surrey and Sussex. So we'll do one at the University of Surrey, and we're just at the moment working on finding venues for the others. So 100 staff who work in this area will have access to the communication skills workshops. So people who volunteer will have the open learning pack, the communication workshops, and then some evaluation before and after, and then we'll work with Health Education England to agree how to take that forward. So that's what we're planning to do. On the back, you'll see it's quite wordy, all of these definitions of what is advanced care planning. And part of our rationale for opting with that, I mean, end of life, hello, hi, Renee, hi. End of life is a very extensive area. So we thought this was important because it's relatively recent to have conversations with people about death and dying. I think we're hopefully getting better at it. But I think, would you agree in your field, maybe it's at a fairly early stage? That's true, okay. So what we're hoping to do is that by the end of the project, at least a number of staff, up to 100, will feel much more confident and competent to have those conversations. But there's a lot of things still to agree. So for example, what is advanced care planning? So you have a number of quite lengthy definitions there. I mean, I suppose roughly when we have an advisory group, and one of the questions that came up was, are we interested in what young people don't want to happen to them, i.e. I don't want resuscitation, I don't want to go into hospital, I don't want nutrition, hydration, that kind of question. Or is it more positive? It's about, I want this. I want these people with me, I want this kind of music, I want to die at home, I want to die in my residential care setting or whatever. And our view is it could be both, but you tell me what you think by the end of the workshop. Yeah. So you can read the definitions. And I've got a number of questions for you, because when we write the open learning resource, it needs to be informed by people like you. You have to tell us what the right approach is. So we're going to ask you questions about ethical values. What do you think the key elements, if you were working with a client in learning disabilities and you had, say, a framework for a conversation, what do you think are the key questions? I'm going to ask that. I mean, there are various formats and templates around the country in relation to advanced care planning, but we haven't found anything specific for young people with learning disabilities. And then we're going to ask you about communication skills. I think you're all very skilled, and that's a very particular area. I know when you work with people with different levels of ability in terms of communication. And then I was going to ask you if you can give us any leads of people who might like to work with us on this project. So far, okay? Yes? So I'm going to get you started with an activity, so I'm not going to talk at you for the 40 minutes. Can I ask you to get together and talk about that question? What is a good death? So if you get together in little groups. Sorry, this is a post-lunch. Hope it's not a downer. Yeah. Is this very familiar to you? Okay. Do you want to? Okay, colleagues, we'll come back together and we'll hear what you have to say. I eavesdropped on some very interesting conversations, so what I want is to get some points from you, and some of these will, can I bring everyone back together? Some of these points will make their way into the learning materials. This is a really important, so what are we talking about? So we'll go around, maybe we'll go around this way and then we can come back this way for the next one. You want to start, a good death. What did you discuss, please?
So just one point each?
You know, several.
So we discussed like the obvious, being peaceful.
Peaceful
death. Something you're mentally prepared for.
Mentally prepared for, that's... What is that? What is that? I mean, what does that mean, being mentally prepared for death?
So you, I guess, in a way, slowly talked about
like what could be coming, what you could expect.
Okay.
The changes that you might experience.
Right, okay. So you've given some thought as to what might be, what to expect, okay? Yeah? Okay. I think I also heard you say about putting your affairs in order. Did that come from your group?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I like that. So affairs in order, what was I saying? Brilliant, thank you very much. Move to the group at the back.
We said that a good death is going to mean different things to different
Fair,
people.
okay, yeah. Yeah.
And as much as possible, I think it's about obtaining that person's thoughts and wishes.
Okay.
While they're still able to tell us
Okay.
what a good death looks like to them.
Okay.
And that means that we've got to we might need to change our practice, we might need to bring outside people in. So we're supporting somebody who's got, in her early 20s, got a life-limiting condition, is supported living, and what she's saying to us is, I don't want to go into a nursing home. Can I stay here?
Okay.
Are you going to be able to get nurses in to look after me if I need it, or have I got to move somewhere else?
Okay.
Because I don't want to. I've been here for so long, I want to stay here, I want to. And so to her, that's what a good death is. She wants to die with us. She doesn't.
Okay.
She doesn't want to go into nursing home.
Okay.
She doesn't want to have to move because her needs have changed. So it's like we're getting down on paper from her what her needs are,
Okay.
what she wants now.
And what I hear you saying as well is about sort of mobilising resources, having the, say, palliative care team and other people engaged, so she can have what it is she's requesting. So, so I'll just put resources, palliative care. Okay, and getting it down on paper, listening. Listening is key. Is that what I heard? Yeah. Okay. And you are listening to this young woman. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Go to the back.
You said not to be reactive, so it's reactive, not planned. But talk about it, so talk about it, reason before somebody is end of life.
Very good. How good are we at that as a group? Are you good at that? Have you had
This is
conversations with
what we said,
your...
how many people are in your workshop? So it's what we're saying, there's only people that want to talk about death, and
Yeah.
people that would be here and are comfortable around it. We need to have into people that don't want to be here and don't want to be involved in it and don't want to plan it, because that's really tough.
Okay.
I think as well with advanced care planning, it's the whole point is it's advanced. So before you are making big decisions, like what is being alive mean to you? So
Yeah.
is being able to have your eyes open, lying watching TV, is that okay for you? Or but you're going to be incontinent and things like that when you're discussing things like, are you going to go and have that surgery?
Yes.
Are you going to knowing what someone's quality of life, what they accept?
Right, okay.
And I think that giving all that information, because that's not always given. You say death is too much of a big word. It's too open to interpretation. Like,
This
you
word...
die if you don't have that, but how will you die? Like,
Yes.
how
It actually said, I'm sure you've heard this before, if you look up quotations on death, somebody said that death has replaced sex as a modern taboo. We can all talk about sex now, but we can't talk about death. Do you agree with that?
Talk about sex, drink, drugs,
Yeah,
everything,
absolutely.
don't talk about death.
But death and dying, absolutely. That's why I'm, yeah. So you're telling me you are the converted, you are the people who are comfortable, but there's a lot of people to reach who may not be so comfortable. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah. And that's important for the toolkit and the communication skills, about how we draw people in and make it more comfortable for them, right? So that's brilliant, okay? So not reactive, being proactive, you have to be comfortable to discuss, you have to have a certain level of confidence and competence, right?
And one thing you said is don't go out the weekend on bank holiday.
Say that again.
Don't die at the weekend or a bank holiday.
Don't die.
Or if you are going to die at the weekend at a bank holiday, make sure there's been some good
Make sure
advance
it's all
planning.
Right.
No, some good drugs, basically, so you're not getting morphine over the phone from some doctor who's not even in the building. Four F1s left with the horrible.
That's about being proactive, is making arrangements for out of hours. Absolutely. That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Yourselves, two of you.
We said pain-free.
Yeah, you're lovely. Okay. Yeah, peaceful, pain-free. Yeah.
And the people that we love.
Oh, that's really lovely. Yeah. So who you're going to be with people you love. And is that just family, or would you count yourselves as within that? Anybody. It could be a worker who's had a long-term relationship with them. Brilliant, okay. The group at the front? What did you say? Okay.
There's a bit of cheating going on there, but anyway. So, in terms of a definition of good death, it's been discussed a bit locally when the hospice groups thinking about it. So, it's about it being individual to the person.
Very good. Okay, so this is, yeah. So that's to do so with individual.
And that's come up with death.
No, that's good. No, okay.
I think there's also something around, when we're talking about the good death, there's something around, there's the good death for the person,
Right.
there's the good death for the family.
Very good.
There's also the good death for the carers.
Very
So
good.
somebody might actually come away from losing somebody and it has been
That
an
is
awful experience for them.
excellent.
So there's,
Absolutely.
there's so many, but a good death, I don't know if it can ever be agreed, is it?
And
No.
it comes back to being appropriate to the situation, to the person.
Very good. Absolutely.
Not necessarily influenced by other people's views always. We have to accept that there can be a disparity
Yeah.
between those interpretations.
Yes, no, that's from an ethical point of view is very important, because what a person wants and what the family can bear might be different, right? So, I mean, outside, in general settings, you hear of people saying, well, I want to die at home, and the family said, oh, I don't think we could really cope with that. So that's a very interesting ethical challenge for the practitioner.
It's about enabling them to make a choice, but then when is the information you're giving to that individual about what really their death is going to be like? For example, if they're making a choice to treat or not, that individual has capacity. We are constantly at the moment running into issues of to really tell them what that choice to have that death is going to be is horrific.
Yeah.
So it's not ethical, according to some of the people that really share what that death is going to look like. But actually, for that individual to make that informed choice, they need to know the other.
Tell me what you're thinking about in particular. What exactly are you talking
So we
about?
have a gentleman who is looking potentially to he needs a leg amputation. There is no really other treatment option.
Right.
He's making the choice not to do it.
Okay.
But he doesn't really. He understands death. He doesn't understand what that death is going to mean.
Septicemia.
We're obviously doing on the mental capacity and
Right.
on that push. But some of that is about who's going to have those really honest Actually, I don't know what it is to have a death through gangrene.
No, it's hard because we don't experience this. It can be explained.
But the surgeon that does isn't necessarily the appropriate person to have a job.
No.
Where
I
is
get
the
that.
ethics?
Yes.
If I'm making a choice about my own death, I don't know if I want to know everything that's going to happen, because actually it's not nice.
And it can also be very different people, can't it?
Yeah.
What I see a lot is that, particularly if we're talking about people with learning disabilities, I've seen a few times where they've just been removed from it.
Right.
So I've actually read in medical notes, like a review bag qualification of a couple of weeks, and not discussed as they have a learning disability.
Right.
And then when I've gone and challenged that and said, I think they can take this, and actually they are getting really scared. Why are they getting ill? Why are they getting sicker and sicker? And we're telling them they're coming in for a urine infection. Like, ridiculous. And then when you do, I've only seen positive results when you tell people, then they know, and then they're given the right that everyone else has got to get their affairs in order, to say goodbye to their friends, to understand why this auntie they haven't seen for 6 months have turned up at the end of their bed when they think they've got a urine infection. What do you want? Like,
This is, and
you
this
can't
is,
remove people from something.
no, this group.
You can't.
So the tendency is to be what we call paternalistic or protective.
Yeah.
But you still left the question, you seem to be of a view that the truth should be told, but it's the what and the how and the who, right? So that has to be addressed when we're talking about advanced care planning. That's really great, thank you.
Ethical consideration that we get to, because we know, we can identify very clearly what people may want in ways we want to work with people within our practice. When we get that information, we start to frame what this should look like. Then, because they're in supported care or whatever else it might be, actually, can you resource that? And how do you resource it? To actually keep
Resource
it
is very good.
as per the plan.
Yeah.
Because that is the other difficulty we often come across. And it might be in terms of actually, can we get the right people in the right place? Maybe that somebody will come along and just challenge all that decision making and try and override it.
Yes, absolutely.
For various reasons. So,
So that's sort of the justice. Can we give people what
or
we
we coming
been-
out back because actually we don't want to do this, we don't
Yeah.
want to do this prescribed, we don't want to do this.
Okay. We're starting moving into values, and that was my next question. Oh yes, please, go ahead.
Can I, it goes back to what some people were saying.
Yep.
I think also a big thing about being honest. And we were just talking about the person that we're supporting who's in her early 20s. She's got a life-limiting condition which is extremely rare. So there's one of only 60 people that we know of with this condition. Even the specialists up at the hospital of Birmingham who kind of specialise in her condition are saying we don't know what her death is going to be like because there are so few people who actually have this condition, and she's one of the oldest surviving people we know with this condition. We can't tell you what to tell her about what's going to happen to her because we don't know the pace at which her organs are going to close down. We don't know the speed at which she's going to lose her hearing. We don't know the speed.
No.
So we're kind of being as honest as we can be, but a lot of that honesty is saying we actually don't know.
And that's very important. I mean, there is a literature on this about why professionals don't acknowledge uncertainty, because sometimes you should know everything because you're experts. But actually, that's a really important point in terms of honesty and truth. I mean, to say sometimes, you wouldn't want to say it all, because actually we really don't know how it's going to go. It could go like this or it could go like that, right? And that's the ethical position I would suggest.
I don't think that's restricted to people who've got unusual conditions. Anybody who's got a life-limiting condition
Yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is, whether it's the most common diagnosis of, actually they're all going to experience that death slightly differently, and there's numerous factors that are going to play into. So I don't think we can get into those conversations, or this is what's going to happen to you when you die, this is what death's going to look like.
But you can say this is what we know and this is what we're not sure about. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
It would never be that descriptive, but still to give.
I think we could get ourselves tied up in knots though, and I think that's one of the problems in learning disabilities in terms of we have a very strong framework of wanting to, we're here because we want to support people properly, and part of that is making sure we give them all the information. And I think we get quite tied up in wanting to give people all the information when maybe we shouldn't, and maybe we can't, maybe we just need to, it is that acknowledging that we simply can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still giving the information.
It's relevant at that time, isn't it? Because death and dying is a process.
And
So you're giving it relevant information at relevant time as much as you can.
But that's so subjective, because then that assumes that you, and not only you, but as individuals, as professionals, that we are able to put ourselves in that person's view, sitting. Well, none of us walk in each other's shoes, we don't. So I'm being subjective, I'm making a subjective view about what information should I share and what shouldn't I. And it's what's that based on? Is that based on my own values and moral codes?
Yes.
Or
I think that your own values and moral code comes into it. You're also doing it positively as well. You're doing it band and doing it Charis, you're doing it around professional sort of side as well.
So there is something there, isn't there, about, we're talking about two slightly different things here in terms of that situation. There's the trajectory of the illness where you go through deterioration, and then there is the dying. Now what we do know is generally what a deteriorating dying trajectory looks like, and that those last few hours, maybe day of life, would look like biologically, in very general terms, because there's a very normal process that happens. It's the bit before that is actually the bit that's very hard to actually frame specifically, and that's certainly sort of the points coming from there. So there is that debate, you have a conversation about what actually dying looks like, that will be fairly specific and more near enough there in terms of cessation of cardiovascular system or respiratory system and all of that sort of thoughts. And so you can actually start with that and work backwards from that almost.
Yes.
Because actually
This is what you know about.
the actual particular disease process. For some we've got a very good idea of what it's like, but it will always be individualised, but for others not. And it's often complicated by what's acute on top of what's the chronic anyway.
Yes.
You can often have an acute event that will trip us up. However well we've marked it, seen what's going to happen, whatever.
So it seems likely, however.
Yeah, so you're always in that situation.
Yeah. So what I want to know is, because we have to have an ethical framework underpinning this learning resource. So we have honesty and acknowledging uncertainty. What does the person want to know? I suppose we might call, is autonomy a value? You talk, yes, autonomy is a good one, okay. So I'll put that there. So that's a value. What other values? So we have autonomy, we have honesty, and clearly these are related. What other values should underpin this whole process if we have an ethical framework?
Not doing harm.
Or do no harm, okay. So not doing harm. Okay. Balanced against?
Everything else. So, we're talking about giving people information about what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
But we need to be clear that they are able to cope with the information that they're given. So we could do more harm by giving information that somebody can't handle.
Okay, all right, okay.
Commitment.
Sorry? Commitment, okay, yeah. I heard some others as I was going around.
Is there something around dignity?
That was a word I heard, yeah. Well, what does that mean in this context to you? Dignity, commitment, do no harm.
I think dignity means different things to different people. So it's, I don't know, maybe it's something about somebody feeling not comfortable, but I can't think of the words around in it, but about treating them
Because we talk of death with dignity, don't we?
Yeah, and I think there's something around the whole end-of-life care thing about dignity.
Right.
I'm not sure that I can understand.
Okay, but I get the point. It
Yeah.
might mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
You were going to
I
come.
just think I've seen a lot of death, and I think it's about as dignified as often. Like, it's never going to be. It can be peaceful, but it's not always dignified. But I think the way you can give someone dignity when they are dying is to say, "Who do you want around?" It's all in this advanced planning.
Okay.
Not having some random people walking in and washing you when you've been incontinent and you're out of it, or having just really thinking about that person.
So respecting their preferences and wishes and choices, that's all part of dignity. Okay. Yeah, okay. Anything else, values-wise? So honesty.
Person-centred.
Person-centred.
Spiritual as well, isn't it?
What about family-centred? Can you balance? Because we just said there's a potential ethical conflict between what the person wants and what the family maybe can bear. Would you always prioritise that, or would you have family-centred as well? You prioritise that. Oh, that's really interesting. What were you going to say at the back?
Just say you prioritise the person, but you would also want to be sensitive to value, wouldn't you? And if they couldn't cope with what that person wanted, you do have to bear that in mind to a degree as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's going to have a knock-on on that person anyway.
That's nice. But your the primary value is the person-centeredness. Okay. Okay. Anything?
Advocacy as well.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. And there's a lot of literature we're aware of about people with learning disabilities in mainstream healthcare, about not being understood, misunderstood, stigmatised, assumptions made about their ability to contribute. And I guess that's a very important role for you, isn't it? To be able to make sure people are listened to. So advocacy is a really good one.
And I think
Yeah.
fairness and justice in that
Very
as
good.
well.
Yeah.
What you were saying before about, things we didn't notice about, we didn't do this because we've got a learning disability. So it's about treating people the same way, so you don't not tell somebody because they've got a learning disability, you don't not provide something because they've got a learning disability.
Okay.
So it's
So non-discriminatory, very much part of the justice agenda. We have to write that in.
That goes with respect as well, I think. And I think sometimes it's about, I mean, it's almost like losing the label because you are a person who has condition X, Y, Z, whatever it is.
Okay.
The fact that you've got a learning disability, that's part of it, but the learning disability shouldn't define you at the moment. What
treat as an
defining
individual.
you is, you are an individual who
Yes.
has this condition, you are coming towards the end of your life, we're going to support you, and the fact that you've got a learning disability is almost like neither here nor there. We'll provide you with whatever
Yes,
support
but it's not the
you
primary consideration. You're a person first.
Your primary concern is
Yes,
your person
absolutely.
with X condition
Yes.
that we need to support.
Yes, no, brilliant. Thank you. I'm realised we're running out of time. How long do we have left? We're up to, do you think somebody will come and tell us? Will they tell us? Okay, so I'm going to get you please to do a little activity. So we're going to have a framework for an advanced care planning conversation. What questions should be on that framework? And this is to train people who are maybe less confident and comfortable than yourselves. Okay, so what questions should be on an advanced care planning format so people could have a conversation with a young person? And then the question is it with the young person first, if they're able to communicate, but you might be thinking young person and family. It's okay, so just spend a few minutes doing that if you don't mind. I'm just going to, yeah.
Talking about young people.
Yes.
So I work in a service where our young person sees up to the age of 25.
Oh, okay.
And we therefore have a conflict between people who fall under parental consent, people who might be really competent, people who are under mental capacity. And so where you're talking about young people, what age range are you talking about?
Yes, I mean up to 25 is probably older than we had thought about, to be perfectly honest.
A lot
But this
of
is a really good.
pathways in social care
Okay, there we
are
go.
now up to about up to
Okay.
25.
So would that be your view? We should consider young people up to age 25.
Well, we're talking about people with learning disability.
Yes?
It's just that you're also looking at different frameworks, because if you
Yeah.
are looking at children,
Yes.
then you've got a different sort of supportive framework.
Yes.
Parental consent and whether or not that
Yes.
child has got the ability to make decisions for themselves.
Yes.
So where we're talking about who would you include, and we're saying person-centred.
Yes.
Actually, yes, the child is still child-centred,
Yes.
but you have a different legal framework.
Yes, I mean, as far as we've got with the communication training, it's going to be based around scenarios, and we've thought of 3 different scenarios. The first one is a young person who has capacity, who's able to express their views, where the conversation could be had with them, probably they'd have some negotiation with families of any age. And then the second scenario is someone who would need to have the conversation with them and their family. And possibly a third scenario where you might not be able to determine the views of the young person. Is that fair enough? Do you think those 3 categories? I mean, it's not neat, because capacity is variable and age is variable, but from what you've just said, it sounds like we should be looking at up to age 25 and thinking about the legal situation more and the issue about capacity, yes.
Look at some of the end-of-life care frameworks, that younger person now is going up to beyond 25.
Right, okay.
And so
Okay.
when you're in transition, you're looking
Yeah.
from 14, 16 up to 20.
Okay, okay.
But some of the end-of-life care, where they've come through transition now, transitions come from past it's been a new thing into they get beyond those age groups now. But some of the end-of-life care centres are looking at young people being up to 40.
Okay, okay. So because unfortunately of time and the complexity of this that has emerged, can I suggest you work on an advanced care plan for a young person of any age who has capacity and is able to express their view. So think of a worker sitting down with a young person who is able to express their view. What questions do you think they need to be asked? Yes? On the advanced care planning about their death and dying. What do you think are the key questions? Just spend a few minutes maybe together and then I'll write down your questions. I know we are out of time just about. Or do you want to, just if each group would come up with one question, that'd be a great help. A key question. Of course, you get loads. Great. Brilliant. Okay, colleagues, we'll make a start at trying to get your question because I'm keeping you from your tea. We've got a great first question here. What matters to you? Yeah? Is that your question? Okay. Okay, colleagues, can we come back together and then we can break up for tea? I need to get your question, please. Okay, so we started with this group and the first question is what matters to you? Brilliant. And you'd go on in terms of end-of-life care.
Really linking it with emotional touch points, to get to know the matter, to have the skill set for whoever asks the question about how to manage that in a way that's non-judgmental.
Very good. So it's non-judgmental.
You could also give written touch points and emotions to have.
Very good. So don't go in with assumptions, just leave it open. It's about listening carefully. Okay, brilliant, thank you. Next group, the 2 of you maybe? Who would you want there? Yeah? Who would you want there? Who would you want there? Right, who do you want with you? Who do you want with you? Okay, towards the end of life, that's the question, yes? Okay.
Why are we having this conversation? You know, why am I doing this with you? Because presumably it's because we've identified them as having to be on their end of life pathway. Why am I here? Why am I having this conversation?
That's an excellent question. And then you get feedback directly as to where the person is and what they know, what they understand, what they don't know. Fantastic question.
Because actually
nobody even told no.
Yeah.
Then you have to take a step back.
When you can start your capacity assessment.
Yeah.
Like that as well.
Because it's brilliant. Thank
Find
you.
something another round.
Anyone else? Another question from the back?
We were just having just loads of conversations about when's the best time and things like that. And that question was a really, really good one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just thinking about the who and the what and the where and the when, all of that, making sure. Sorry?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know. Lovely. Brilliant. Okay. So I think just to remind myself, what does the person know? And be very careful about assumptions. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now to the back.
That's exactly where we're from.
So we also had what do you think is going to happen to you? Yeah.
Say it again,
What do
Penny.
you think is going to happen to you?
What is going? Yeah, okay.
So what's their understanding of what's going on?
We know our service users often function better with an open-ended question. So I suppose that would be one of them, is making them as open-ended as they can be, because that it gives them the opportunity to expand, and that words that they use might not answer the question that we specifically asked, but it takes you down somewhere else.
Okay.
So I would think, if I was, because it might not be something that I'm certainly not very, I've never done an advanced care planning type plan before, so I would actually want some real tangible words and the way the questions would be asked to inform the way in which I do it. So yeah, those open-ended questions.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, it's not just 2 boxes there.
No, it's time. And would you, it's time and space, this can't be done quickly, would you agree?
No.
I think that needs to be written in. You need to give people, yeah, so I'd put that there. To do it properly.
Well, we were going to say it's really kind of been discussed, but we were going to say, what do you really know?
Okay,
In
yeah.
terms of your conditions, for instance, if you have a life-limiting condition,
Okay.
what do you know about it?
Okay, yeah, brilliant, thank you, good, okay. Anything missing?
Family.
Yes?
You know, a part of it that includes the family, because I know that we're talking about it being person-centred, but actually quite a lot of the things we do for clients, and we all work with those clients who do not have the capacity, who are non-verbal, who make it very, very difficult for us to understand any of their wants and wishes. The family are the people that inform us, and so that death would be a family, only family-centred, based on their understanding of their.
So family views.
I think,
And you want to check out what they know?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, people without learning disabilities, I think they still want their family involved, regardless.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's back to that individuality thing, isn't it? Not everybody does.
Yes.
So I think the question is, who do you want involved? As opposed to which members of family you need to involve. Who is important to you? Who do you
Very good.
Who can help us? Who,
And actually, that's about consent as well, isn't it?
We're starting,
Yeah.
as we should do, from assumption of capacity, and
Yes,
then we'll work backwards from there.
Yeah.
So actually, if they can't tell us, we then start to gather that.
But this is a tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So presumably it's going to have, if you don't answer today, go to C.
Yeah.
So we have to include.
Yeah.
I think there is another question. It goes back to our earlier discussion. I think that's about, this isn't the language I've used, but what are the options and what are the consequences? And just using a reflective framework. What are the options? What are the consequences of the action? So you aren't in a position of having to talk about uncertainty, because you then be the person making it.
So do you see it as sort of a if this then that kind of, is that the kind of tool you're thinking about? Yeah.
We're talking a lot about what matters to you, what do you want, which is really important. But I also think it's important we ask the question, is there anything or anyone you definitely don't want to happen?
Right, yes. What you don't want.
That the person has a particular belief or a culture, it's not down to us to kind of impose our values on what we think is the right thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Just something around looking at what's actually
Oh, yes,
working
sorry.
for the person.
No, I want to keep you for much longer. You have to go for tea. Sorry, just finish that. Who said that? Yeah, sorry, everyone.
What's actually impact the person who's working at the moment? So the questions like, if you're feeling sad or upset, what helps you? So that you've got things that you're
very
now
good.
that they can then build on and put in.
And I think to make this a truly voluntary process, you have to ask the first question, do you want to make a plan?
Excellent. Excellent. Very good.
What are you going to do if you don't want to? What would the health professional really want to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
If the person doesn't want to.
That's a very good point. And how many of you here? How many? Okay. tragically, we have to wind it up. I'm really sorry, we could have spent several more hours. Are you interested in being involved in this project as it emerges? Would it be all right with you if I got your contact details from the, or is that okay? I might even send you a draft just to have a look at. Would that be good? And yeah, it'd be a great help to us for sure. And this has been so helpful. As I said, I'd love to have kept you. Thank you all very much for coming. That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.